I decided to give the luxury car that you bought to my parents.
What are you talking about?
Mom and Dad are really happy.
Wait a minute. Did you buy it with the intention of giving it to your mom and dad?
Yes, that's right. No matter what you say, it's already bought. If you disobey me, I'll divorce you.
What? Divorce? At that moment, something inside me that had been holding me back collapsed. If you disobey? Divorce? Who is saying that? Fine, I'm happy to do it. My name is Kathy. I'm a 37-year-old office worker. I live with my husband, Roger, and our daughter, Sarah, who just turned 7. Roger and I both work, so we don't have any trouble making a living. My daughter is growing up well. I'm happy in my own way, but it's not that I don't have complaints to Roger. Roger is the type of person who cares more about his parents than his own family. Of course, it's good that he cares about his family, but there were many things when he would prioritize his own parents and his own daughter. That's not a pleasant thing for me. Even when my daughter was being born, I called Roger at work and told him I was having labor pains. I asked him to come to the hospital because I was about to give birth.
I'm sorry, I just got a call that my mom burned her finger, so I'm going to go by my parents' house,
he said. I thought, how could he possibly be more worried about his mother's burn than his wife's delivery? And my mother-in-law's burns were caused by touching a pan that was on fire with her bare hands. She just got a small burn, and when she cooled it down under rolling water, it was fine. I couldn't believe my mother-in-law for calling her son for such a thing. And I also couldn't believe Roger rushed to her place in a panic for such a thing. Roger is hardworking and basically kind to me, but how he is to his parents really bothers me. Also, something like this happened. The day of my daughter's first birthday coincided with my in-laws' trip. The in-laws had asked him to drive the car, so Roger's first priority was to drive them. And he didn't even celebrate our daughter's birthday together coming back home. But he stayed at a hotel with his parents because they could get an extra room at the inn. It was unbelievable that he would prioritize a trip with his parents over his own daughter's first birthday. I felt distrust towards Roger. After that, this kind of thing happened often, but I couldn't easily divorce him. I still loved Roger, and I didn't think it was right to deprive my daughter of her father so easily. And it's not that he doesn't care about his daughter. He was not indifferent to his daughter. So I had faith that he would eventually prioritize our daughter. But from the time she was born until this year, he has never celebrated our daughter's birthday with me. She is now 7 years old. He seems to think that her birthday should be celebrated with just the two of us. I tried not to make her feel lonely. I thought about inviting my in-laws to celebrate her birthday with me once, but my in-laws refused, saying it would be too much of a hassle to come over. It's true that it takes about 2 hours by car to come to our place from my parents-in-law's house, but Roger always goes to see his parents without thinking of the distance as a hassle. But to say that it's hassle to come here, I think it's too selfish. And my mother-in-law is so selfish that he says he wanted me to have a boy in the first place. And she doesn't love our daughter at all. I told you that I want a boy, so why did you disobey me? I couldn't believe my ears when she said these words. I don't think you can choose the sex of your child, and I don't think it's that important to have a boy in the first place. It's not that Roger's family is a famous family. It's just that my mother-in-law is old-fashioned and insists on having a boy. The only reason Roger doesn't celebrate our daughter's birthday with us is partly because he's trying to please his mother. Roger is more concerned about his parents than anything else. He can't seem to disobey anything his mother says. When Roger took me to her New Year's family gathering at my parents-in-law's house, she said a lot of things to me. My mother-in-law seems to enjoy bullying me, not only about not having a boy, but she also picked on me about other things. Kathy, why can't you do things more quickly? Look, there's someone with an empty cup. Why don't you pour a drink? My mother-in-law used me like I was working in a brothel. She made fun of me in front of the relatives. My son is really great, but his wife is a disaster. Her job is just a simple office work, entering data. I wonder how she can keep doing that and not get tired of it. I've told her many times that my job is not data entering but engineering. But my mother-in-law doesn't understand me at all. Besides, data entry is a great job too. I don't understand why she denies it. I'm sure she can see our daughter, but she ignores her. She gives New Year's gifts to other relatives' children, but not to our daughter. And I'm angry at Roger, who doesn't stop her at all. His daughter is being mistreated, and his wife is being mistreated like a fool. I don't know why he's laughing at what his mother says. He even says, "My wife is not good without me." He's trying to act cool in front of the relatives. I didn't want to deprive our daughter of her father, so I tried to be patient, but I gradually lost my love for Roger. Then one day, Roger asked me for a favor. "Actually, there's something I want to buy." "What is it?" "A car." "What? A car?" I was surprised. Roger was never interested in cars or anything like that. Why, all of a sudden? "I just thought I could get a new one for a change. You know, I drive to my parents' house all the time, so I thought I'd like to freshen it up. We live close to a supermarket, and I don't drive that much. I'm not interested in cars, so I thought I'd leave it to Roger." "Well, it's up to you. You're the main user of the car." Roger looked happy, and then continued with a slightly apologetic look on his face. "Oh, here's the thing. I'll choose the car, and I'll allow you to pay for it." Roger wants a car for himself, but he can't afford to buy one himself. He wants me to pay for it. In fact, my salary supports the family's finances, and I don't expect Roger's salary to do so. When I was on maternity leave, Roger did not contribute his salary to the household, so I immediately resumed work right after giving birth. But I'm an engineer, so I talked to the company about allowing me to work remotely from home. I work while raising our daughter when she was little. I thought it was selfish of Roger, who spent his salary mainly on himself, to make me pay for a new car. But when he's in good mood, he often takes care of our daughter, so I decided to allow him to do so. "Okay." "You sure? Thank you." Roger was so happy that he started looking at catalogs and researching on the internet. I'm the one who pays for it, so I warned him though. "Since there will only be 3 of us, it doesn't have to be a big car." "Yeah, I know." Roger was just humming along my words. I didn't know if he was listening or not. and he went to the car store every now and then talked to the dealer. About 2 weeks later, Roger said he was going to buy the car. He took me to the store. Roger was so excited. I sat down and waited for him to tell me what to do. And here comes the dealer. Here's his car and the contract. I was surprised to see the car that the dealer had prepared for us. It was a large luxury minivan. Oh my God! Are we buying this?
Oh yeah, it's nice. I'm really excited.
Wait a minute. I don't think we need it at all.
I mean, for the future, it's better to have something as big as this. Maybe we have another baby.
Roger insists it is a good choice, but I was surprised to see that it's not what I imagined the car to be at all. Even if we do have another child, this car is too big for a family of 4. Are we really going to buy this car? I said again and again, and he looked frustrated.
Why do you keep saying the same thing over and over? You're making the dealer feel uncomfortable. You're the one who said leave it to me.
I did, but...
Then what's the problem? It's settled.
Roger signed the contract. Then the dealer explained the price. I was surprised to hear the price. I can't pay this one lump sum. You have to get a loan or something.
What the heck?
Fine, I guess I don't have a choice. Roger insisted on signing the contract in his own name. So we took out a loan. From now on, I would put the money into Roger's account and make the payments on the car loan. We bought the car in this way. Later, the car arrived at our house.
Whoa, it's so cool.
Roger was so excited when he saw the car. I thought, well, if he's happy with it, why not? Then something unexpected happened. It happened on the weekend. Roger had the car keys, so I asked him if he was going somewhere.
Oh, where are you going?
To my mom and dad's.
All right.
He's leaving our daughter behind to visit his parents again. You're going in that car, aren't you? And then Roger happily says something I didn't expect.
Yes, that's right. I've decided to give the luxury car you bought to my parents as a present.
What are you talking about?
Mom and Dad are really happy with it. Of course I'm going to drive it in every time we go out.
Wait a minute. You bought it as a gift for your mom and dad at the first place.
Yes, I did.
You're kidding, right? You said you wanted it, so I agreed to buy it.
That's why. I knew if I told you from the start that I was buying it for my parents, you're never allowed it.
Of course not. It's crazy that you would put your own parents first to the extent.
No matter what you say, I already bought it. It's in my name, and I get to do it with what I want. If you disobey me, I'll divorce you.
Divorce? At that moment, something inside me that had been holding me back collapsed. I had my complaints toward Roger, but my rational mind was telling me not to get divorced because of our daughter. And even thought Roger puts his own parents first, I thought he also cared about his own family, me and our daughter. But he could easily cut us out of his life for his parents. How is that possible? Divorce? If I disobey? Who the hell does he think he is? I'll show him that he's the one in trouble. Fine. Let's have the divorce.
What?
I don't want you around anymore. Go back to your mother and father, Mama's boy. I tried to provoke him. And just as I had planned, Roger's face turned red and he became angry.
What? You're making fun of me, aren't you? Fine, then let's get a divorce right now. I'll go get the divorce papers.
Roger sniffed and went to the city office. While he was there, I started packing my stuff. I called my parents, explained the situation, and asked them to pick me up. I told my daughter to pack her things too. Meanwhile, Roger came back.
I've got it. Sign it quickly.
Roger had filled out the form at the city office, and it was signed in a very dark handwriting that looked like it was written out of an anger. I signed my part without hesitation. Well, I'll file it. So why don't you just go?
I'm going even if you don't tell me to. You are really such a terrible wife, you know that?
Roger led with his footsteps making loud noises. Why did I stay married to such a person for so long? If I had to do this, I should have left him sooner. But it's no use regretting it. I'm grateful that I was able to leave him, and from now on, I will do my best as a single mother. A few minutes after Roger left, my parents arrived. We cooperated and finished packing our belongings. We loaded them into my parents' car and went home. In the meantime, I filed the divorce papers and my divorce from Roger was finalized. It was just a piece of paper. But when I filed the papers and realized that we were no longer officially married, I suddenly felt much lighter. Then I decided to look for a place for our daughter and I to live together. About a week after Roger and I divorced, I was at my parents' house when I saw the luxury car that Roger had purchased. I walked into my parents' house with our daughter. I saw my ex-husband and my ex-in-laws in the living room. My mother noticed me and took our daughter to the other room. I went to the living room. Roger was talking to me in a panic.
Oh, Kathy, what's the insurance on that car?
Roger started asking me very agitatedly.
What's the matter with you? Why are you barging in our house like this?
I said coldly, and my ex-parents raised their voices.
We don't want to come here either. We came here because of circumstances beyond our control, didn't we?
Why should I be yelled at? My father was quietly angry at my ex-in-laws for raising their voices.
If that's the case, could you please leave? You're strangers to us now. We can call the police and have them kick you out.
Then my ex-parents-in-law were frightened and became silent.
Hey, Kathy, tell me, what's going on with the insurance payments?
I couldn't help but sigh. Did you forget what you said when you signed the contract? You insisted that the papers be in your name. So you bought the car in your name and took out the loan in your name. You have to pay for the insurance yourself. My words made all of my ex-parents-in-law pale. Roger had made a choice to take a loss for the sake of his own pride. Well, I didn't want that car in the first place, so it's normal that he buys it in his own name. It's his fault that it turned out to be he to do the payments.
Oh no.
Apparently, Roger and his parents were so excited about their luxury car that they drove the car too fast and they drove it into a guardrail. And the front part of the car was broken. Come to think of it, when I came home, it was parked so that I couldn't see the front side of the car. I didn't look at it properly, so they came to me, who was in charge of the payments, to ask about insurance. The car is owned by the loan company, so it would have to be fixed soon. And since they don't have insurance, they are responsible for the entire cost, and they would have to pay for the guardrail too. I wonder how much it would cost to repair a luxury car. I'm sure it's going to be expensive. In the end, the ex-husband and his parents returned the car and were charged a large amount of money for the repairs. After that, I received a lot of emails from Roger asking me to get back together with him. One of the messages said that they couldn't afford to pay their rent and utility bills. He moved back to his parents because of that. However, it seems that Roger's parents were really hard on my ex who was driving the car. Now he doesn't want to stay at home because of their attitude. But he can't live alone because he has a lot of debt. Roger is still insisting that he wants to see our daughter after all this time. I think that's too selfish, and I'm not going to allow it. I keep ignoring his emails. Of course, I didn't tell him about the new house that I and our daughter live in. The only thing I was worried about was whether our daughter would miss him. However, to my surprise, she doesn't seem to mind at all and seems to be enjoying her life. I will continue to work hard to protect our daughter's life. I don't think you should put your own parents before your own daughter. And while having your wife pay and giving the car as a gift to your parents, that's quite impossible. Well, he destroyed himself, so he really deserved it. I hope Kathy and her daughter have a happy life together. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next video.
The bride graduated from junior high school with honors. A junior high school graduate. Oh no, I thought to myself. The content of the profile introduction, I regretted not having checked it over. And at that moment, I found Caitlin's weak point, is what my mother-in-law was nearly about to say, and our eyes met. I am Caitlin, now 28 years old. I and my husband David, who is 2 years older than me, are currently in the middle of our wedding. And my mother-in-law was staring at me with a terrible look in her eyes. I could feel her staring at me with my whole body. To begin with, I hate my mother-in-law. David is a plastic surgeon. We met on a job, found that we got along well together, which then led to our marriage. Well, it's your typical kind of how one gets married. But at our first meeting, David's mother started bickering. Does she work for a normal company? If you are going to choose, you should choose a doctor or at least a registered nurse. An assistant nurse would really not be good enough, but a girl working for a company, that has nothing to offer. She must have pulled the wool over your eyes, David. There were the first words she said to me. That's a rude thing to say. I was the one who fell in love and proposed to her, he said with disapproval. Do you really think you can have a marriage life with just a flirtation and a fling? The difference in our educational backgrounds makes us different human beings. I was stunned. The difference in our educational backgrounds makes us different human beings. Apparently, this seems to be my mother-in-law's catchphrase. And a peak point of her catchphrase was, my husband graduated from Harvard. For my mother-in-law, who really is biased, Harvard graduate is equivalent to the king of all beasts, the strongest lion in the human world. Did you know, if you are a Harvard graduate, you can land yourself any job you want. But as you go down the university ranking, there are some jobs you just can't get. In other words, when you look ahead to your future, but you can have the most number of choices by going to Harvard. By the way, how about your father? What? Well, he finished his high school. Oh my gosh! He only finished high school? Just like Cinderella's stepmother, she placed the back of her hand over her mouth and laughed in a high-pitched voice. Only graduating from high school is going to limit one's possibilities even more. Amidst the talk of my father's educational background, she did not ask about my education, whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Well, my mother-in-law was just unbelievable. But I still loved David very much. She was a problem, but it's not as if we have to live together. As long as we get through this wedding ceremony, we're only likely to meet at the New Year's or during the summer vacation. Or so I assumed. However, I had no idea that a bomb would explode on the day of the wedding. It happened while the bride and the groom's biographies were being introduced. Caitlin, the bride, graduated from junior high school with excellent grades. There was no question that my mother-in-law would let this one pass. Let's enjoy the party. As soon as the meal was served, she came over to us. So I heard. Yep, I'm sure you did. My mother-in-law puffed up her nostril, glared down at me, and said, So, you only finished junior high school. Is that possible nowadays? Her words were of no surprise. But when I went to my husband's house to meet his parents, the difference in education makes us different as human beings, was my mother-in-law's own theory, and after being forced to hear it, all of this was predictable. Sorry? I asked back. What did you say just now? My husband graduated from Harvard and my son is a doctor. You just don't match up to our standards. Just graduating from junior high school is the lowest kind of education. I told you that the difference in education makes us different as human beings. So having someone so low as you join our family, your DNA will have a negative impact on our family's future genetic makeup. My mother-in-law's voice grew louder and louder. Our conversation was being overheard by people sitting near us, and people started to glance over at us. My husband, who was concerned about the situation, started to say, What? You don't know, Mom? Caitlin is... But he couldn't finish his words because the host, who sensed that things were getting tense, intervened by saying, Let's continue with the next part of the program. I acknowledged the host, and with a smile on my face, I urged my mother-in-law to go back to her seat. You don't have to tell me to go back, you junior high school graduate. After the ceremony, I'm going to talk to you about your divorce. I wouldn't be able to stand seeing the genes of this family destroyed by someone like you. My mother-in-law turned away, tossing a hem of her dress. Oh, I'm sorry, Caitlin. My husband apologized. It's all right. You don't have to apologize to me, I replied with a smile. As I looked at my mother-in-law going back to her seat, looking triumphant, I murmured to myself, I'll make you understand. You just wait and see. I looked down and smiled smugly. The party continued, and it was time for the congratulatory greetings. The host read out the congratulatory greetings in a clear voice. Congratulations on your marriage. Looking back, when I saw how she superbly performed the task of wiping the table, I could see her keen, brilliant sense of observation. Pearls Holdings, Public Relations Manager. What? My mother-in-law stood up from her seat. The host continued. I am so happy to hear the news of your marriage. For already 6 years, I would like to thank you for your wonderful contribution to our company's commercial. I wish you a great family. Director of the Public Relations Group, Public Relations Department, Mikoski and Davidson. What? My mother-in-law looks as though she is about to start running. We have received many other messages, but I would like to introduce to you just their names. the name of large companies continue to follow. What? My mother-in-law looks as though she is about to fall over. After hearing the congratulatory messages, she came over to our table. She had on a look of complete disbelief on her face. And her husband, who is a graduate of Harvard, desperately tried to stop her. My mother-in-law ignored him completely and more or less shrieked at me. All right, what is going on here? You need to explain this to me. She's talking to me as if I were the villain. What do you mean, what's going on here? I was about to retort when my husband interrupted. So, that's why I asked you earlier. Don't you know? Caitlin appears in company commercials that don't use celebrities. She's a famous actress in the field. What? My mother-in-law was blinking furiously, as if she couldn't believe his words. She never listened to anybody, so she's probably thinking that she is hearing this all for the first time. Whenever we met her, she could boast about Harvard by herself. She didn't understand anything about us. My husband, after all this time, is talking about such things to his own mother. How comical is this situation? I met Caitlin because she appeared in a cosmetic beauty clinic commercial. I was trying to explain all of this to you, but all that you kept saying were about her parents' academic background and so on. My husband sighed. Yes, exactly. I also breathed out. After taking a breath, what is wrong with my finishing junior high school? I asked. Then my mother-in-law, in a shrieky and unstable voice, yelled, I already told you, if you think about your future, going to Harvard gives you the most number of options. Right, the future. It's as though I hadn't given any thought to my own future then. I need to make her really understand this. I took a deep breath and started. Then you would start looking for a job after university, right? And when you turn 22 and graduate, you finally join the labor market. If you have a job you want to do, and if that's why you want to go to Harvard, I get it. But according to you, wouldn't your goal be to go to Harvard rather than for your future career? I wanted to work as an actress. I started working towards achieving my dreams as soon as I graduated from junior high school when I was 16. I didn't hesitate to make my decision about what I wanted to be in the future and got off to a quick start. I was able to start working and making my contributions to the society at an early stage in life. You are right that Harvard is consistently among the highest ranking universities in the world. Of course, it must take an incredible amount of hard work to get there. But I, too, worked my butt off. I don't need you criticizing me just because I only graduated from junior high. I'm not confident in my looks. That's why I chose to fight with my acting skills by appearing in commercials and reenactment dramas and be the top actress in the field. So I continued to study acting while holding down a part-time job. I even went to a movie theater on the outskirts of town with just a piece of bread. You have no idea how much effort it took and how much motivation I needed to go through such times of uncertainty. I would like you to stop looking down on me with the prejudice of a junior high school graduate. I thought I would teach her what only a junior high school graduate can do. It is true that middle school graduates are less educated. On the other hand, they have a head start in working for the society. The determination and bravery of a junior high graduate are the source of our pride and our strength. It is wrong to rank people by their educational background. Then I changed the subject. You've been repeatedly saying, my husband is. Then, is there something that you've worked hard for up until now? Oh, well, that's... she mumbled. Well? I snickered. Shouldn't you say, I've done my best to raise my kids? Although that was meant as a sarcastic remark. She looked at me as if she had just received a helping hand. That's right. I worked hard to raise my children, she boasted. There was a slight pause. You don't work hard, David intervened. Yes, this remark is based on what I had heard from David. David explained. You always said your father graduated from Harvard. Make sure to work hard. I expect less of you. You always just kicked my butt but did nothing for me. I did manage to become a doctor, but I was always afraid I wouldn't be able to meet up your expectations. So because of that, when you were asked whether you worked hard at raising your children, you weren't able to reply right away. No? When people's hot spots are hit, they try to pass it off with their emotions. Mother-in-law was no exception to this rule, and she screamed, losing all control. Harvard, they are great. They are the smartest. That's why Harvard is so great. She was cornered. She was like broken gramophone repeating the same thing over and over again. And because she is so loud, it is extremely irritating. If you are going to get broken, it would be better that you be silent. It was her husband, my father-in-law, who stopped the broken record player. You aren't a graduate of Harvard. He grabbed her shoulders and pulled her away from the table. That's enough. Hey! This time she was shrieking at him. Father-in-law quietly stopped her and spoke gently. You changed after you got married. When I first saw you working so hard at a flower shop, you were so adorable. And although you weren't such a keen cook, you learned how to do so for me. I married you because I saw you and liked how dedicated you were. You changed the day after we got married. Your favorite phrase became, my husband is a Harvard graduate. You said it everyone, including your own son. Do you have something that you could truly say is your own? She opened her eyes wide open and shouted at him with her spit flying. I was chosen by you, a Harvard graduate. That is my greatness, because Harvard chose me. Father-in-law sighed with a desperate look on his face. I am great because Harvard chose me? The name value of Harvard means everything to you, right? It seems as though he had made up his mind. Maybe this is the way a marriage falls apart. In a way, as we send David to start his new life with his wife, you and I should go our separate ways. When this wedding is over, we'll talk about our divorce. It's not about David and Caitlin. It is about our divorce. Mother-in-law's body started to shake, and in that moment, when she was about to shout, my own mother came bursting into the scene. Whoa, you people! She shouted in an incredibly loud voice and stood between my mother-in-law and me. Mom! My mouth opened in surprise. How dare you do such a thing at my daughter's wedding? Just look around you. My mother looked around the hall. Everyone was silently watching us. Because my mother-in-law had become a shrieking, broken record player, it seemed as though no one dared to speak. Well, it's not surprising. At your child's wedding, whose parents would dare to fight so scandalously like this? My mother seemed beside herself. Today is the day when my daughter should be celebrated. Is that not so? And her husband's parents ruined their wedding. What on earth do you think you're doing? With that, father-in-law said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And lowered his head. But even with his apology, My mother's anger could not be abated. It's true that my daughter only graduated from junior high. I told her that if you want to study acting, you can finish high school and get to know how the world works a little more before doing so. But since Caitlin had made up her mind, and since she said she wants to pursue it, I wanted to do all that I could do for her. Because my mother-in-law tried to open her mouth to speak, my mother stopped her by continuing. You said that Harvard is great because they are the smartest. You said that, right? Then I want you to clean your ears out and listen to me real hard. Her voice was a good match for the broken record player's volume. My daughter taught herself French because she said it was absolutely necessary for acting. She's now completely fluent in French. I don't think she deserves to be looked down upon on junior high graduate, especially with her level of French. Fluent in French. People were talking to each other in surprise. It's not the easiest language to learn. Most likely, no one would even suspect that I would be fluent in another language. I did everything I could think of what would improve my acting, and that is how I came to be fluent in French. And my mother made her final remark. I would like you to absolutely put aside your academic prejudice. There was a round of applause. We're going home. I can't stand to see you embarrassing yourself any longer. Father-in-law lowered his head to my mother and pulled the shrieking mother-in-law with him out of the hall. That is how our wedding ended. My friends congratulated me, and I was very happy to have been able to wear a wedding dress. And my father-in-law got divorced from my mother-in-law. After having sheltered under the name value of Harvard and being immersed in feeling herself special that way, there was nothing she could do now, all by herself. She went back to her hometown somewhere far away. Even David, her son, bore such heavy grudge against her for raising him under the mantra of Harvard is the best, that he said he would not give his mother a cent to help her with her living expenses. I've continued to work as an actress in television commercials. Sometimes I open my mouth for the dentist, or act a part of a store manager of a fish shop, or lay down on the ground at the scene of a crime. I do all sorts of things. In the midst of all this, I became pregnant. In life, an academic qualification is important, but placing one's value in that one thing is not good. We should constantly work on improving ourselves. Tomorrow, we will be a better version of ourselves. By continuing to work hard, we will be even better than yesterday. I gently touch my stomach that is growing bigger by the day. Tomorrow, for sure, it will become bigger, and a happier day will